So for today's What Wednesday question, we're going to talk about what is the ideal RV length.
What?
So it's kind of a tricky question saying what's the ideal RV length, because there's not one specific. I can't say 32.5 feet done. I wish I could. It'd make it a lot easier, but you just got to ask the right questions for yourself to find out what the ideal RV length for you is. I guess one of the big things is also to know that length may change as time goes on. I would like to say you will always choose the right RV that lasts you your entire RV lifetime, but that's probably not the norm for a lot of people.
When we first started RV shopping, we had never lived in an RV, we had never even camped, so we didn't really know where to start and what was comfortable for us. So I think we went pretty small in the beginning, and then realized that
pretty small, like it was probably 25 feet, I think, this trailer that we were going to do.
Yeah, so for us personally, we felt like that was a little small with a newborn at the time. That didn't quite work out, so then we went really, really big. We thought, okay, you need as much space as you can get in a camper to be comfortable. And then we realized that that was difficult to travel around in.
It was almost 43 feet, the second one. So we went from 25 foot trailer to 43 foot fifth wheel. Sorry. Go.
And then we transitioned into a motorhome that's 38 feet. And that's been great for us. And I think we were just trying to find that comfortable fit for us. The thing is, life circumstances change. And I think the longer we've been doing this, the more things that scared us in the beginning, the things that we thought we couldn't live without, maybe we've been starting to change a little bit when it comes around to those things. So I know for us, like, not having a washer and dryer totally scared me. It was on my must list. And I've really enjoyed having our washer and dryer, but that made us kind of have to get a bigger rig to have the space for that. But now, since we've been doing this for a little over a year now, I think I might be more open to the possibility of downsizing a space to be able to get in more places.
So no washer dryer?
I told you I would consider the possibility.
Well, it's funny to think back when we were first looking at RVs, things that kind of made our must-have list. I mean, we're like, we've got to have the U dinette. We've got to have an island. What else do we have on there?
Well, I think we were transitioning from a house, so we were looking at things that a house would have. But now, since we've been doing the RV thing, we start looking for things that would make RVing more comfortable. We would really like to start doing more camping in state and national parks, and I think our size has kind of kept us from being able to do that as much as we want to. And we knew that in the beginning, and we talked about that, but we didn't know that it would start to be on our wish list like it has. So
the plan was, and I looked on the maps and read the forums, and they're like, hey, if you can't get into a state or national park, it's not a big deal. Just stay in an independent park outside of there and drive into the parks. And that's true, you can do that. But after staying in some of these state and national parks, when we can get in, which isn't very often, it's not as often as we'd like, it's just a different experience when you stay in the park versus like being in the car just driving around in the park. We really enjoy that experience more than we thought we would. A lot of this stuff, I don't know how you figure it out when you're picking out your RV until you just get out there and do it. So that's kind of a tip too, is your first RV, if you've never owned an RV, you've never really been RVing, I mean, if you can, I know it's not always possible. Sometimes right off the bat, you get that brand new one out of the factory and you roll with it, and that's your travel RV. But if you can, I mean, I think it'd be a good idea to just get a cheaper one that you can kind of get a feel for, go RVing, and see if the state park, national park, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you test that out unless you like just travel with somebody else RVing or something like that. It's really tough to figure a lot of this out until you just get on the road and start doing it.
That perfect length, what that means is like, what am I comfortable with and what allows me to do the things I want to do in an RV. If it's, you want to take your toys with you, then you need a toy hauler. If you, want to get in the state and national parks, then, you want to get down to that size that allows you to get in there. I mean, there's just so many factors, and you just kind of have to narrow it down to what is most important to me. And it's okay if it changes over time, because I think it has for us, and you know, that's okay.
So the length of the RV, and as far as numbers, depends a lot on what kind of camping you want to do. If you want to get into national forests, if you want to get into national parks, state parks, all that kind of thing, I mean, 25 foot or less is really ideal. If you get 30 feet or less, you can still get into probably, you know, 90% of those, 95% of them. Once you start getting to that over 40 range, or even 35 to 40 range, if you're over 40, man, that'll cut out. I'm gonna guess it'd cut out at least half of them probably. I mean, that's not to say you can't ever get into a state park or a national park. You can, but it's definitely gonna make it harder. We've even had a hard time with 38 feet getting into stuff, to be honest. You can always get a smaller RV into a bigger side, but you can't get a 45 foot RV into a 30 foot side. So it gives you more flexibility, not just in the parks, but also in independent campgrounds as well. I think that's part of what's changed, is what feels like home to us. Even our, you know, 300 square foot Class A, I mean, that feels like home. That feels like a spacious home. We feel like we could walk into a smaller RV now and say, man, now this feels like home.
I think a lot of it has come over time too. I think when we went from 1,800 square feet house, and then we tried to go to a 25 foot travel trailer in the beginning, I think that was too much of a shock for me. You know, everything was new. I was a new mother at the time, you know, having a newborn in that small space. Like, I think that was a little overwhelming.
And so one other factor that, of course, you might want to consider is what kind of vehicle you already have. If you have a large pickup truck, I mean, going with a fifth wheel might be the easiest thing to do. If you have a small car that could be towed, you know, you might be looking at a motorhome to pull that. That doesn't seem to factor in as much as the other stuff we've been talking about, as far as what, because, you know, if you get to take your car with you, but you're miserable in the space you've got, I mean, you know, start with the living space that you want over just the vehicle you're going to have with you, if possible. I don't know if there's ever going to be a perfect RV length. I don't know that we'll ever get it perfectly right. I don't know that anybody ever gets it perfectly right. And you just do the best you can. You just have fun with it, and you just realize it's part of the process of the RV life. But if you got any questions or comments, just let us know.